guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to share with you a review of the new Too Faced Natural Collection. I have a bunch of products from their new collection here, and I have the Natural Face Palette. This is the first thing that I got from this collection. I ended up getting everything a little bit slowly, but I got that the day that it released, and then I got the Natural Eyes Palette. You guys saw this in my Sephora VIB sale haul. I have that, and then Too Faced actually sent a couple of their lipsticks, 3 out of 10 of their new lipsticks, and then also their natural matte palette. So I'm going to be wearing and sharing all of these products today. And if you guys want to see how I got this look using the new Too Faced Natural Collection, then just keep on watching. Started with my eyes, and I'm going to use both the Natural Eyes palette, which has like mattes and shimmers, and then the Natural Matte, which is all matte. I'm going to start off with the Natural Matte just like as my base and some transition shades. And these palettes, like all of them, put me in a really good mood because I have them open in front of me and they smell like chocolatey and like coconutty at the same time, which is like my favorite scents of life. So I'm going to start off with the Natural Matte palette, and this is a very different matte palette because it has some like cool tones in there too. Like you do have some warm brown shades, but you also have like some purpley tones. It's a very pigmented palette. All the mattes in here are really pigmented, and they just swatch like super creamy, and they go on very creamy on your eyes too. So it's not like a dry or patchy formula at all, especially with an all matte palette. That's definitely what you need because you don't have any other shades to like hide if anything's patchy. So all the mattes just blend out together really nicely. So the eyeshadow palettes are $38. You can get them at the Too Faced site. I got the Natural Eyes palette in Sephora. I saw the whole display at Sephora and I believe at Ulta as well. And for the matte palette, it says that 7 of these shades are new. So this is like a reformulated palette. They infused it with cocoa butter. I think they did for like the whole collection, but 7 of the shades are new, and then there's 2 of like the shades that were in the original palette. So I'm actually gonna go in with the shade Heaven, which is the lightest shade, the shade right here. It's also in the Natural Eyes palette. This is a very light shade. It's a little light for me, but it can work as like a brow bone highlight too. With all of these Too Faced scented palettes, anytime I get like some kick up, I can taste it and it just tastes like hot cocoa powder. And I also just pulled out the Just Peachy Mattes palette just because I love comparing palettes all the time. So this is what both of the matte palettes look like compared to each other. They're definitely very different. The Natural Mattes is way more neutral and cool tone, and then there's a ton of more warmer shades in the Just Peachy Matte. So they're very different in case you guys are curious. So moving into the next shade, we're going in with Au Naturel. This is like a lighter brown shade. Basically what I always start my eye looks with, and I think I want to do like a pink kind of toned look. I need to find my, yes, Sigma E40, the only brush I ever use, so if I lose it, I really don't know how to do eyeshadow. So I'm just going to apply this all over my crease and kind of into my upper crease since it is a little bit of a lighter shade. Really love the formula of both of these eyeshadow palettes because they blend out so nicely and they all show up really nicely too. So I'm going to go back into the Natural Matte palette in a minute, but I want to go right into the Natural Eyes palette. This is a palette I wanted forever, but they just like reformulated it and updated the packaging, so I'm so happy to have this. I just got it at the Sephora VIB sale, and these are all the shades. This pink shade in the center, it's called Push Up. That is what I want to use on my lid today. And then Honey Pot, this is actually my favorite gold that Too Faced makes. This is like one of my all-time favorite gold eyeshadows. What was it in? It was in a holiday palette I had from Too Faced from a couple years ago, and also one other palette, the Natural Love palette. It was in there too. This is just such a gorgeous gold. But anyways, today we're gonna be going with a pink shade. So I'm gonna go in with the shade Push Up. This is a gorgeous pigmented shade. I'll swatch it for you guys so you can see. It has this like taupey undertone, so it's not like super pink. It has like a champagne shift to it, so it's super wearable too. And it looks like very foiled. I'm gonna go with a wet brush, but I always like to show you guys what it applies like when my brush is dry too, so you can see the pigmentation on its own. So my brush is dry right now, and that's gonna give you a more like natural look. All right, so this is what this shadow looks like on its own before I wet my brush. It's like a very subtle natural look, and then I'm going to add a ton of, or a couple of different shades to my outer V to make this like a lot more intense, but I want to go ahead and add some Fix Plus. So that is the lid color down on both eyes, and you could definitely just like stop here and you have like a 5-minute really natural neutral look, but I want to add some more color, especially to like the outer corner. So I'm going to go back into the natural matte palette. I'm going to use the shade Risky Biz, which is this like eggplant shade, just to get a little bit of depth in my outer corner. I just want to build that up to add a little bit of a purpley tone to the outside. Whenever I apply shadow on my outer V, all I do is just kind of pack. That way I don't have to go in with like too much shadow, just kind of pack and like diffuse it out a little bit. So I'm going back into the natural palette and I'm using this shade Erotica. And this is like a grayish tone and has some shimmer to it. It has like little gold flakes to it. And I just want to pack this on top of where I put the matte shadow. All right, so I just tapped on a tiny bit more of Erotica in the outer corner just to make it a little bit more smoky and like nighttime. And then I want to go in with this shade Silk Teddy, which is like an icy, really light pink. And I want to apply that to my inner corner. Just have a pencil brush. And I'm also going to carry this kind of upwards. So I'm not just putting it in my inner corner like here, but I also want to put it in the inner third of my eye. Alright, so the eyeshadow is pretty much done. I'm going to throw on some lashes, then I'll do my lower lash line and then move into the Too Faced face palette. Alright, so lashes are on. We're going to move into the lower lash line. I'm going into the natural matte palette and I'm using this like purple taupey shade Cleavage. Just going to apply that all over as like a base just to add a little bit more purple to this look. And I did just go in with a shimmery brown liner, but I am going to just play up the purple on the lower lash line. I'm taking a little bit of the shade Push Up that I have all over my lid, and I just want to apply it to the inner edge of my eye. And I'm also taking just a tiny bit of Erotica to the outer edge of my lower lash line, and then that's going to be it for eyeshadow. Alright, so I just finished up with bottom mascara. I'm going to move into the natural face palette. This palette is $44. It has 6 shades and it has 2 highlighters, 2 blushes, and then 2 bronzing veils. I'm going to use this one as bronzer. This is the Sunny Honey shade, and then this one is actually very shimmery, so it's definitely more of like a highlighter or blush topper. It'd be a really good highlighter if you have like a darker complexion, but to me that is like too shimmery just to use on its own for my face. And I do have a little bit of contour already, just like something a little bit more cool tone, but I like to add a bronzer on top. Basically I always use 2 different shades, like a little bit of a contour to actually contour, and then I do like more of like a glowy sun-kissed look. So this one is pretty warm and it has like a satin finish, so it looks really natural. I always like to use a little bit of a fluffier brush, that way it stays very like natural looking and not too harsh. Then I'm going in with this shade Pink Sand for blush. This is like my favorite kind of blush color. It's more of like that mauvey, cool toned blush. Especially goes really nicely with this like more neutrally cool tone eye look. So moving into the highlighter shades, I'm going in with Satin Sheets. I think I'm going to use this all over my face, but I'm also going to use it for my brow bone and then also the inner corner of my eye. Anytime I have like a smokier eye look, I definitely like to add a lot of shimmer to my inner corner and to my brow bone. And then this shade is actually, both of the highlighters are pretty. Let me swatch them both for you guys. So this is the shade Satin Sheets, which is gonna go all over my face right now. And then Starlight is more of like a pinkish tone highlighter, and that's like more of like a peachy pink. So I'm gonna use that with more like warm tone looks, something a little bit more summery. So I wanna stick to something more neutral today. So this is a highlighter that's definitely more of like a glow from within kind of look. So I'm definitely gonna pile it on a little bit, or just apply like a little more than I normally would, because you can see where I apply it, but I like to really get that a little bit more intense. All right, so moving on to lips, I have 3 of the lipstick shades that Too Faced sent over. All of these are $22 and they're more of like a satin finish. They all come in this like flat shape, kind of like a lip balm. So I'm going to swatch all three. This one is the shape Strip Search, and I think I'm going to have to mix some of the shades together. So this is Strip Search. It's definitely more of a pinky tone. The other shade is Send Nudes. This is a very light nude peachy shade. So that top shade is Send Nudes, and then I have Pout About It, which is more of like a purpley tone nude. So what I think I'm going to do is mix both of these together. I'm going to take the darkest shade I have, Pout About It, that purpley darker tone, and I'm going to apply that all over. That is the shade Pout About It on its own. I feel like it just turned the look like super grungy, so I want to lighten it up a bit, and I'm going to take the shade, the lightest one I have, which is Send Nudes, this like reddish peachy shade, and then I just want to apply it probably on the center and then maybe move on from there. So if I want to apply it all over to kind of mix them both. All right, so this is the completed makeup look. I ended up using Send Nudes all over my lips on top of the shade Pout About It, just to add some more of that like nude undertone to it. And I really like it because it's like nude and purpley at the same time, which I really like with this eye look. I never do my makeup like with these colors anymore. I feel like I always used to do my makeup like this. So I really like playing with those shades because I'm always into like very warm tones, and both of these palettes, especially the Natural Eyes palette, has a lot of more neutrally toned, a lot more cool tones. So if you're into like cool tones and neutrals, definitely check this out. If you're not into like a lot of like really oranges, like warmer browns, you want more of those like kind of purple tones, taupey shades, definitely check it out. All the shades blend out really easily. You get a lot of pigmentation from all the colors. I really enjoy it. I'm so glad I finally have that palette. And then the Natural Matte palette is really pigmented, really easy to blend out. I like using this with the Natural Eyes palette because it actually has a little bit more of those like warm tones in it. Like this shade Hookup is one of my favorite transition shades, and then even some of the darker matte colors are really nice to like smoke out an eye look. And the only repeat in both palettes is this light shade Heaven that I used to start out my eye look. But other than that, they are very different from each other, and they work really nicely together. So really love the matte palette. This is like a really great transition shade palette. I know I said the same thing about the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes palette, but if you're not into those like warmer peachy tones and you want something that's more neutral, you want some more like purpley shades and just like taupey colors, definitely check out the Natural Matte palette because those are really pigmented, very easy to blend out. Then the Natural Face palette, this is going to be something that's going to be just personal preference of like the colors and the undertones. So this shade Tropic Like It's Hot, I haven't really used this one because it's kind of hard to use on my complexion. Like for a bronzer, it shows up too strong. I could use it maybe as like a blush topper, and then if you have a darker complexion, I think this would be a beautiful highlighter shade because I'll show you. It's like a very bronzy, peachy tone color. It's very pigmented. You could use that as like an eyeshadow too, but for my face, it's just gonna look like very harsh. But then all the other shades in this palette do work well for my complexion. I'm not gonna wear this pink blush too often, probably just like a couple of times here and there for this summer since it does have like that corally undertone to it. But I really just prefer like super neutral blushes. I love this blush. It kind of reminds me of Too Faced Baby Love, which is like one of my holy grail blushes. The highlighters are really more subtle. They're definitely going to show up on your face. Like you can see that more like blinding look, but you want to build it up if you want it to be like more blinding. But they're going to be more of that like subtle natural look otherwise. And then I also really like this bronzer in Sunny Honey. It reminds me of Milk Chocolate Soleil, but then if that bronzer is too light for your complexion, this bronzer probably won't work for you because it is just like slightly lighter than Milk Chocolate Soleil, but I really do like that warm tone. And then the lipsticks are super creamy. They're more of a glossy finish. Like it looks like a lip gloss basically that's super pigmented for sure. They're really hydrating, and then I do like these colors mixed together, so they're really easy to blend out, really easy to apply if you're into more of those like creamy lipsticks. But that is everything for this makeup look using the Too Faced Natural collection. Definitely let me know if you guys are going to be trying out this collection in the comments down below, or if you purchased this collection already, definitely let me know your thoughts about it. And if you guys like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll talk to you guys soon in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.